you guys went into training, got your certification to sell? Just put a yes if you like got your certification to be a salesperson. And I'm just gonna wait like a second for responses on all of this. Yeah, I'm not seeing a single yes coming in. I didn't think so. And the reason for that obviously is because that's not what we go into. We go into it to help people, we go into it to get people results, all that good stuff. But as soon as we get certified, like I did with InfoFit over a decade ago, which makes me feel very old, is that I went in and then the first thing I did was I went and worked for a big box gym, Steve Nash Fitness World at the time. And then I was like, oh, in order for me to grow, I need to start selling a ton of personal training packages that I never got trained to do. And it seems like I'm being pushy and I'm doing all these different things. And I had no clue that that's what it took to do that. And so if I knew what I know now then, I would have been able to be a lot ahead. And that's why I'm really passionate about this subject particularly. So before we dive in, I'm just going to give you guys like a really brief background overview of who I am, why I'm even teaching this lesson, and then we'll kind of dive into the biggest thing. So I was a personal trainer for corporate gyms for over 12 years. I was working really long shifts like all trainers do. One of the biggest things I say is like trainers are some of the hardest working people that I know, waking up from 5 in the morning all the way to 8, 9 p.m. when people want to train. You guys know how it is. And then Sunday, the only day off is when you're preparing Tupperware so that you can eat while you're at the gym. So I dropped out of college, paid a coach $10,000, and then opened my own gym. I did need to get out of the hustle though. So originally I wanted to be an online trainer, but at the time I was trying to do all the things to just transition into my own business that I just listened to whatever that coach did. It's told me to do. And what I actually ended up doing, and these are just pictures of some of the clients of the gym, when I opened the gym was I created a high-paying job for myself. So I was making a lot of money for the first time ever. So within a few months, I started bringing in $10,000, and then the next month, $20,000, and then 30, and then 40, and then it went up to 50. But I had no freedom whatsoever. And so the whole point of why I did that was so that I could have freedom and I could have location freedom and I could do the things. And because also I literally knew nothing about business at the time, I completely sabotaged the gym. I didn't know how to grow a team. I knew nothing about branding, all the things that it really takes to be able to have a sustainable long-term business. So it can be easy to bring in money quickly. What's hard is maintaining it and actually building a macro vision for whatever fitness kind of empire, online or offline, that you want to build that actually works sustainably 5 years, 6 years, 7 years down the line. So I ended up shutting down the gym and I started from scratch online. And after 2 years of struggle and trial and error, and a lot of money in mentorships, a lot of money and paying other people to teach me softwares, all that kind of stuff, I was finally able to figure out how to grow my own online fitness business to multiple 6 figures on the online side of things. And then I started transitioning to teaching other people, clients, how to do that. I had some of my colleagues at the time saying, what are you doing? I want to do this. I want to get out of the gym. I've been doing too much of this. And so then I started helping them, and that's where CEOwned was born. So that's kind of like the quick kind of synopsis. Just so I get an idea, again, guys, if you can type in online, if you want to have some kind of online component to your personal training, and then put offline if you want nothing to do with online personal training, you want to be 100% in person always. So put online if you want to be have some component of your business and personal training, and then offline if you want like literally nothing to do with it. All right, Jane says online. All right, we're getting some aspect of that coming in. Lindsay, Angel, awesome. Who else? I'm assuming some of you guys are undecided. So that's, or some people are putting it offline. Okay, so we go, okay, 90 is 100% on offline and some both. Okay, cool. That gives me a good idea of where we're at. So quick little thing, like nobody wants to be this guy, right? Like this is the used car salesman example, like lazy dude doing his thing. So sales, a part of client success. So most of us don't want to do sales, but there's only two ways to helping people get healthy, right? So the first way is going to be helping them for free. And the second way is obviously helping them for some kind of financial exchange. So option A almost never works. And here's what I'm going to explain literally through experience. So through working with a lot of trainers, I have charged from nothing to anywhere to as low as $50 to $100 for 1 month packages. And you guys know, like, trainers can charge up to like $200, $300 for 1 hour. So I've been on that side of the spectrum, and I'm sure some of you guys had experience with this. And the least results I ever got for clients were the ones who were paying the least. Not because I sucked, but because they didn't have any investment in it. Because something that is cheap, we don't pay attention to. So think of all of the things that you've taken for free, whether it's a PDF, whether it's a coaching session, whatever. We put into action things that we pay for, because when we pay attention. And so the clients that have paid for 90 days, $2,000, $1,500, $2,500, $3,000 have been some of the best clients I've ever had, because they listen exactly verbatim to what the process is. They do the things and they get the results, and they're incredibly happy after. And so that's just like from plain experience, right? And so, let me just go forward. So here's the biggest thing, is that sales come across as very icky, but it doesn't ever have to be really icky, right? Because there's 4 metrics of sales, right? So the first one, we'll go through all of these. So the first one is communication. The second one is connection. The third one is relationship building. And the last one is EQ, so emotional intelligence, right? And what I want to walk through with you guys today is going to be the closer framework. So I'm going to go over all of these in detail, and hopefully this will help you guys kind of solidify what that is without ever feeling like you're doing things in an inauthentic way. Because as soon as we start feeling inauthentic, it feels icky, and then it comes across. Like, people can sense that right away, right? So first thing, clarifying why the prospect is there. So prospect being potential client, just kind of for you guys those who may not know the terminology. Label the problem of the prospect, overview of the prospect's pain point, selling the vacation and not the process, explaining away any concerns that they have, and then reinforcing the decision. So this is what we're going to go over, closer framework, one by one, okay? So the first thing is clarifying why the client is there. Sorry guys, again, before I go into this, just so I have an idea of where you guys are all at, say yes if you have done some form of sales, whether it's been in fitness or anything before you guys got into fitness. So say yes if you've gotten in some form of sales in fitness or even before that. Tons and tons. All right, we got one yes so far. So the rest, just so I'm clear, no one else has done any sales. So just give me a no if you've never done any kind of sales before this at all. So I know where we're going with this. We got a couple yeses actually. Cool. Okay. Some of you guys have. All right, cool. And some of us are a little shy today. That's okay. So clarifying where the prospect is there, this is where you find out what they need help with. You want to find out their goals. You want to find out what what they want to achieve more than anything, and not just their superficial goals, but their actual why behind this. So I gave an example, and I said wanting to be a good parent to their kids because they're embarrassed to look in the mirror naked before the shower. Another example would be, going up the stairs and feeling completely out of breath. Another example would be when they go to take a shower, they don't even look in the mirror because they're feeling so incredibly embarrassed of how that is. These are the pain points that we want to uncover, not just, oh, I want to look better, I want to feel better, I want to have more energy. Cool, but why? What's the reason behind that? We need to understand where that's coming from. And just a quick thing for those of you guys who haven't ever done sales. So after you get into that section of the situation where you clarify why the prospect's there, let's say a client says, or a potential client says, oh yeah, I just want to be healthy and I want to lose 10 pounds. So you don't just say why, you say something like to the effect of, okay, gotcha, that totally makes sense. What is it about that 10 pounds that stands out for you? Is that like kind of where you were before? Is that where you felt the best and the clothes fit the best? Or like, what is it about that 10 pounds that really stands out for you? So what did I just do? I said, what is it about the 10 pounds that gets them to go a little bit deeper, except just saying why? And then I gave them options. I said, is it this? Is it this? Or is it this? And that way they'll go, oh, it's this. Or they'll say, it's not those, but I am thinking this. And that makes it a lot easier for them to have an idea of like where to, because sometimes they don't even know. So the whole goal is how can I make it the easiest for them to give the most simplest response? And just a complete side note, not related to this, the best marketing is the simplest marketing. Very, very simple, like third grader level. It's the same thing when it comes to sales, having conversations with people like that. Second one is the L. So labeling the problem of the prospect. So what's the biggest struggle in reaching their goal? What are the things that aren't working for them right now, right? So I give an analogy sometimes. I'll say throw rocks at their enemy with them. And this is not my thing. This is from a book that I read from Russell Brunson, from anyone who knows that. And it's, let's say a client says, I tried P90X and I tried Weight Watchers and I tried all of those things. You want to validate them in the feelings that they're at in that moment, right? And obviously, again, this whole presentation is about being authentic. So if you agree, obviously, if they've done all these quick fixes, if they've done different things that hasn't worked for them, if it wasn't catered to their lifestyle, all the things that they need to be successful, and they tried those things, make sure you're on their side about that if you genuinely feel like you're on their side about that, right? Show them, okay? And so the third thing is overview of the prospect's pain point. So ask them about all the things they've done in the past and get them to explain to you why they didn't like it and why it didn't work. And the reason why is because they're now going to essentially explain themselves what could be a potential, what we call objection later, where they give a no for multiple different reasons. So I think we go over that sometime near the end. If not, I'll give you guys a quick little bonus. So they'll say, let's say you ask them, what are the things that they've tried before that haven't worked? So they'll say, oh, I did this and the diet didn't work, and then I had to go on Atkins, which is like this many calories, and then I was doing these at-home workouts and they sucked so bad, or they were good for a while, and then like I contacted their support staff and they gave me a 2-word answer, and then I could never work with them again because like I just got demotivated and I didn't have a workout buddy. All of the things. And so now they're remembering all of the things that they've tried in the past that hasn't worked, or if it did work, it worked for a short period of time before it stopped working. And you guys all know this, and that's that it's actually pretty easy to lose weight. It's hard to keep it off, right? It's relatively simple to lose the weight. It's really hard to keep it off. It's actually the same thing when it comes to business and financials. It's easy to start making money. It's hard to maintain the structures that help you continue to make money and then grow thereafter. So just try to think about it that way, okay? The next one is selling the vacation. And guys, I cannot explain how important this one is, okay? And so what I mean by selling the vacation, and I give this analogy because I think it might stick a little bit better, tell me no if I'm wrong, it's when you stop selling the plane ride and you start selling the vacation instead. So what do I mean by that? So what I mean by that is, think about it. If you go on a plane, let's say you're going on an all-inclusive trip to Mexico, like the fun part isn't getting in a really tight seat on a terribly cheap plane with no TV, and like they don't even give you water, and then you got to pay for it, and you have no room, and then someone's like getting in your little space that you have. That part sucks, right? The part that's good is when you get off and they give you a welcome drink and you're excited and you see the beach and all that stuff. It's the result, right? So it's the exact same thing when it comes to when you're having that conversation with the person. So let's say the ideal client's goal is to reverse type 2 diabetes and lose 20 pounds. Again, I'm just making this up. So you need to keep touching back on that goal to reverse type 2 diabetes and lose 20 pounds. Not on the process, the fancy app you're going to use, the customized nutrition, the laws of thermogenesis, metabolic rates, all of those things. It's not necessarily what they're looking for. What they need to know is that you are the person who has the vehicle to the result that they want. One other thing I'm just going to add to this is not at all related to the S of the closer framework, and it's this. If you guys remember, I told you guys a little bit earlier that when I first started, I was in person for a very long time before I went online. And then I said I struggled for 2 years before I knew how to start doing things online. One of the biggest differences for those of you who have some in-person component, which I assume most of you do, just say no if you don't, so I have an idea, is that it is much easier to have a conversation about potentially working together in person than it is online if you don't have the skill of how to do it online. However, in reverse, if you are able to get somebody to join your program online, it becomes much easier in person. So the goal is, if you can get really good at this process, then in person literally becomes a piece of cake. And I can tell you this from experience. The reverse isn't so fun, but once you learn these, the rest of in-person side of things for anyone who wants to have some kind of in-person component becomes a piece of cake. All right, so the E part of this, and I'm just gonna pause really quick. Just give me a follow if you're following me so far. This is all making sense. There's no questions. So just write follow if you're following me so far. Jane's following. Awesome, awesome. Great, Angel. Thank you. And guys, again, don't be shy. If there's any questions, just let me know. I'll go ahead and answer those during and as well as after. All right, so let's get back to this. So explaining away their concerns. So in other words, 90% of the time, you're gonna have to overcome objections. And so I was actually just on a client call the other day, and they were like, oh, you know, they said they gotta think about it, and then I just got off the phone. And I was like, okay. And so like, that's what most people do at the beginning, is we just get off the phone, which is probably like, I mean, like I said, you can see here, 90% of the time, you're not going to get a slam dunk sale. A slam dunk sale is someone that says yes right off the bat and it's all good and then they're ready to go. Okay, 90% of the time, you're going to have to help overcome objections. What that means is you need to have a dynamic, have a conversation, see where their sticking point is so that you can help them. So if they're thinking, and I don't want to get too much into this too quick, but if they're thinking about it, or if they need to speak to a spouse, or if it's something going on with financials, the goal isn't to like overcome the objection in a sleazy way. The goal is to have a really open and honest conversation about where they're at. Is it something to do with the program that they're doubting? Is it something to do with the payment plan, the financials seem off that we can adjust? Is it something to do with what you said earlier, that they think it's not going to fit with their time schedule? Do they not have belief that you're going to be the person who's going to help them get to the result? Do they not see you as the vehicle? There's so many reasons why someone might potentially not come on. And if they don't have you, which is the primary person who's going to help them decide whether that's going to be a fit for them or not, and they get off the phone, how are they going to get like a chance to decide without any further information? So the whole goal is for you to provide a safe enough container for them to be able to ask questions and work through whatever it is that's holding them back from making that decision. And if after you go through all of those and they still say they have to think about it, which can happen on a small percentage of time, that's fine. But you still want to go through that. The last thing I'll say on this is, and this is where people get confused, the goal is not to get a yes by the end of a phone call or a sales conversation in person. Either is the same. The goal is to get a decision. So I'm gonna say that one more time. The goal isn't to get a yes, the goal is to get a decision. So either a yes or a no. And there's ways to go around this, okay? All right, let me go back. Okay. So I added a pre-frame in here, which is good. I'm really glad I did this. So near the end, so it says you'll still have to overcome objections near at the end, but pre-framing will make your life a whole lot easier. So here's what I mean by a pre-frame. It's a brief conversation agreement that you have with that person before you even start talking about the program, their goals, their struggles, whether it's going to be fit, before you do any of that, which is going to isolate only one objection so that by the end, they're not giving you, I got to think about it, I got to check on my finances, I got to speak with there's so many of them that all come down to three main objections, which is spouse, finances, and they got to think about it for whatever reason they say they have to think about it, right? So the goal is to remove the maybe, right? And to remove the I have to speak to my spouse or make a financial decision with my spouse, okay? So here's I'm gonna tell you guys verbatim how to do that. I'm just gonna make sure I don't go through that in the next one. No. Yeah, it's right here. Okay, so I would just literally say it like this. So I'd be like, okay, awesome. So by the end of the call, we're gonna have a few options. The first one is that you feel good, I feel good, we both feel like we're a fit, and we'll go ahead and get started, celebrate, all that good stuff. And then I would check in. Sound good? Yes, that sounds good. The other option is that you say no and then say some aspect of your personality. Maybe you think like, I speak too intensely, or I'm talking too fast, or I'm just not your type of gal. That's totally fine. Just tell me flat out no, promise you won't hurt my feelings. Now you eliminate the maybe by adding this last part. Now, what some people will do is they'll say, you know, I got to think about it, got to check on finances, got to, you know, chat with my dog or my turtle, whatever it might be. That's totally fine. What I've noticed is just from taking calls like this is that clients that kind of get stuck in that indecision side of things, they end up either going back to old programs or kind of freezing and not doing much, and then coming back 6 months, a year later and just feeling really frustrated and stuck. And so that's kind of the last thing we want from you. So all we're looking for is either that hell yes or hell no answer by the end of that call, and that you can make the financial decision on your own. The last line matters too, and that you can make that financial decision on your own. But either way, obviously totally cool. Does that sound fair enough? And then you get them to confirm. Now, some people will say, okay, well, what if they say they can't make the financial decision on their own? That's the whole point of doing the pre-frame, is so that you're prepared for this. Because what if you go throughout the entire call and at the end of the call they say, oh, this sounds great, but let me go speak to my husband. Well, you could have just spoken to her husband and her in the first place, or vice versa in terms of gender. However, this way, let's say they say, oh, well, I do make financial decisions with my spouse. No worries. Yeah, we have clients that have that as well. That's why I wanted to have that conversation before we even get started. What's a good time for you, myself, and your husband to hop on a call, and then I can just kind of go through the entire program, the way everything works to both of you, and then you guys can decide, you know, if that's a good fit, or if you don't want to. Either way, I'll lead you in the right direction. When's a good time? And then you lock down a time, boom, that's it. And then you get on a call where the financial decision maker and whoever it is that wants to do the program are both on the call, and now they can go ahead and make that decision from a more informed place, one, and then two, instead of them getting off the phone and then butchering it and being like, oh, you know, I met this person, this is the price, you can go ahead and actually explain the program in a way that makes the most sense, okay? Give me a make sense if this is making sense so far, if this is helpful so far. Give me a make sense so I know that you guys are following me. So if you can just type in there, makes sense. I just hit my head very hard on the fridge before this, and so hopefully everything I'm saying is sensible to you guys. So give me a quick make sense. Is it making sense? Helpful, makes sense, makes sense. Okay, awesome, guys, awesome. And then don't be shy. If any questions come up, go ahead and put them in there. We can also have like a period for it at the end as well. All right. All right, so then we're on the last part of the cruiser framework, and that's the reinforce the decision to buy, okay, right? So I'm going to give you guys a quick breakdown. Once they've paid, you need to prevent buyer's remorse, right? So we'll say like give them a big hit of dopamine to reaffirm their purchase, right? Oh, this is like a free giveaway that I give. So if you guys want some live examples of calls that we've closed in fitness for 2,200 or more, just put your email in here, and then I will go ahead and send that to you guys as email sometime after the webinar tomorrow. So if you want like a live example of fitness deals closed online on the phone of $2,200 or more, just put your email in there and then we'll get that sent over to you. Okay, just as a quick like bonus giveaway for anyone who's interested in this and wants to learn a little bit more. Okay, so here's what I mean by reinforcing their decision. So this is the quick story, is when I transitioned from an in-person PT online, I used the in-person selling strategies that I kind of told you about, and it failed miserably. So I had to learn how to build the skills of selling online authentically, okay? The first 2 sales I ever got online were for $2,200 paid in full each. And I was like, I'm crushing it. Like I'm killing the game. I got this whole thing figured out. But you can see here, they both called and asked for refunds literally the next day. And the reason was because I didn't reinforce the sale or back up my sale with any form of logic. So they literally paid in full and they called the next day and asked for a refund. And when I look back on that in retrospect, it's because those 2 things did not exist, right? So they were very emotionally invested. They were very excited, but there was no logical component as to why the program was completely different than everyone else, why they weren't going to fail this time, why we were going to do things in a different way that would not cause them to lose a bunch of weight and then put it back on. Whatever it is about your unique systems that differentiate you from everyone else, you need to be able to lay those out in very layman's terms in a way that makes sense. And when I say layman terms, I really mean that, because so often in our heads, like there's so many components of our program that we want to share with the client, but really what that does is get them more confused. So the whole goal is to simplify everything as much as you can. And I want you to look at whatever it is, whether it's your program, whether it's your generalized sales outline, whether it's your marketing, and look at it and ask yourself, would my 3rd grade cousin understand this? Or whoever that you know is around that age. And if the answer is no, go back and redo the entire thing. Because otherwise, I'm telling you right now, it will be a lot harder. Okay? So, and this is what I said. When you get someone emotionally invested in something but don't rationalize the decision, people will almost always get off the phone and have buyer's remorse, okay? So this says boy. This means to say boy, it means to say buy. We buy with our emotional brain and we rationalize with our logical brain. So make sure to cover both ends of the stick, or you're not going to have any stick at all. In other words, not any clients at all. So make sure that you are able to hit the emotional component through going through pain points, to really finding the deeper reason behind why they want to achieve that goal, and then have a logical component as to what is the unique, we call it a unique selling proposition. Basically, it means an angle that differentiates you from everybody else, okay? And I'll just tell you right now, like I've nothing to hold back, is what I used was what I called my 3 pillars. And it was, I teach you how to eat however you want without sabotaging results. I teach you how to train however you want without sabotaging results. And number 3 was lifestyle recalibration. And that was when I laid out the 2 options. This is when I was doing online, the 2 options they had in losing weight. And I gave them the reason why online trainers, in-person trainers didn't work. I gave them my rationale as to why cheap programs never worked and how I was different, okay? And so it's just really breaking down your unique angles. And the best way to do that is, what is everyone else doing and saying, and how can I do and say the exact opposite? And this is where we go into and I've gone over this in previous lectures, is blue ocean, red ocean strategy, where all the sharks swim. So let's say, for example, where all the sharks swim is talking about caloric deficit and thermogenesis and the things all coaches and trainers and things say. What's the blue ocean? How are you different? What's different about you? Same thing. Let's say it's a product, a protein powder, and that protein powder has a 3 times faster absorption rate than at Y other protein powder. That's a unique selling proposition. So the goal here for you is use mine, if that sounds good to you, or something that you're like, okay, how can I stand out in my pillars in a way where the client's like, oh, wow, I definitely have not done that before. And that sounds awesome because it's not restrictive and taking up all my time like what all the other people told me to do. Okay. All right, let's move on. All right, so this is the examples of dopamine hits to reinforce their decision to buy. Okay, so it's personal videos, handwritten card, swag boxes, so giving them like a piece of clothing or something, personalized onboarding, and timely communication within expectations, right? So what I mean by within expectations is when clients come on with us, we say, hey, between this hour and this hour, we're available 5 days a week. We answer on weekends if it's an emergency. Let us know this is what it is. But during these hours, we're always available within Y period of time. Okay, and so like that's what I mean by setting expectations, because if you don't, then they're going to be like, oh, well, I didn't know that I messaged you at 10 p.m. last night. Why didn't you respond to me at this time, for example? Okay. Last thing I'll say on this is don't underestimate how far little things go. And I'll give a really small example of this. When I opened my gym in Vancouver, what I started doing when I tracked students' nutrition or clients' nutrition, the first thing that I started doing was I had them on MyFitnessPal. I tracked their stuff on MyFitnessPal, and I had them like accept me as a friend on their diary, and I could see everything that they were eating within the macros that I gave them. And every however few days, I would go in there, block off like in between clients, half an hour. And I would go through their diary and I would like see like, oh, okay, Nancy had like a bag of Miss Vicky's chips. I'm like, Nancy, like, what's going on, girl? Like, saw that you had these chips, like, everything good? And she would come to the gym, she'd be like, oh my God, like, you saw that? And she'd be so excited because she's like, wow, like, my coach is actually looking over me. They're actually holding me accountable. They're actually looking at the diary they told me to log. And what's crazy is that the majority of coaches don't go out of their way to do something so simple that takes such a low period of time that increases what we call LTV, which is the lifetime value of a customer. And if you can increase the lifetime value of a customer, you know what happens? You stop having to do sales and chasing customers because they just stick with you. And for anyone who's brand new, who even has 10 customers, or those of you who have had customers in any other industry, if you think back, regardless of what your price is, of those clients you have or have had, and they never leave, they just keep paying you month after month after month, think about how much more money you would have been making today. So if we can perfect the offer, which is another training in and of itself, but I think it's an important note to recognize. If we can perfect the offer, then you don't even need to market that much. You don't even need to sell that much. And I was looking up a statistic today that I think feeds into this. And the average yearly money spent is based, $6 trillion is spent, and that's based off of word of mouth. Which means I like your program and I go and tell somebody else about it. Those my friends, my family, my social media, if I'm an influencer, whatever, right? $6 trillion. And over 80% of people trust word of mouth from friends, family, influencers, that kind of a thing, more than they do any other marketing strategy or tactic. What does that mean? That means that the offer matters more than marketing. The offer matters more than strategy. The offer matters more than skills. Do you need a little bit of all of that to get the ball rolling and get things going? Of course and absolutely. But if your offer is so great that people, it's a no-brainer for them to continue with you month after month, that in and of itself will substantially over time continue to grow your business. And I'm going to give you one other example on this, is that all other lead generation strategies, and just to break what that is in case anyone doesn't know, it's ways of getting people who are potential clients to come into your world, or what we call pipeline, okay? All of them are linear in nature. So what that means is I put two ad dollars in, I get 5 back. I message 100 people, I get 10 responses. Of that, I get 2 calls. And so it doesn't matter. I email this many people, I do a call to action, I get this many responses, this many calls, this many sales. They're linear in nature. You put in this much, you get out this much. Word of mouth and referrals is quadratic. 2 people tell 4 people, 4 people tell 8 people, 8 people tell 12, and it just keeps growing. So all that to say as the final word on that is that if you are able to really focus on that and make the offer so incredible and just be in a little bit less of a rush, you're going to be able to grow exponentially over time, okay? Quick thing, checking in again, because I feel like I've been talking a long time and I can't see your guys' pretty faces. Just give me a quick yes if this is helpful so far. Quick yes if this is helpful so far. And again, obviously, if there's any questions, feel free to put that in there. Give me a yes if this is helpful so far, guys, and then we'll move on to the next thing. All right, so the next thing here is that the closer framework needs to be followed in every step, or else it's not going to work. Okay, so what I mean by that is exactly what it is. You can't skip a step, or else there's going to be problems. The up frame matters, and so does the bottom, right? So what I mean is when you get into their goals, their struggles, all of that good stuff, all the way down to your 3 pillars. I told you guys what mine were during my fitness days. All right. Final thoughts on objections. Don't be afraid to handle objections. It's only pushy if you act, talk, or have a tone that's pushy. Watch the way you say things and you'll be able to say nearly anything. And I've had this in many slides in different things that I've done, just because I think, whoops, let me bring that back up. I think it hits home, okay? And I'm gonna give you guys an example, 2 examples actually. So my name is Sarah, and I'm gonna tell you guys my name in 3 different ways. So let's say I have a friend and they say Sarah, or they say Sarah, or Sarah. I know they mean 3 different things based on how they call my name. Let me give you one clearer example. Example 2, so everyone can see the screen. I didn't say he hit his wife. 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 Guys, I literally just said the same sentence like 7 times. And they mean completely different things based on the emphasis of one word. And that's how important tonality, how we speak, and positioning can be. Just as if I ran this webinar with you guys and I spoke in like a monotone voice like this and I didn't move or make it, you guys are like literally probably all be off by now. So it's not the content that sucks, it would be how I'm presenting the content that would suck. So it's the same thing in tonality. How you say something can seem completely different based off of what you say. And this is just to give you guys basic awareness as you do have these conversations, okay? And so that's that's around the biggest thing. I just want to give you guys a quick breakdown of who we are at CEOwned. Before I do that, is there any questions about sales, about training, about online, anything in that matter that anybody wants to ask? Anyone has any questions on? Happy to answer. So I'll just wait like 30 seconds, just 30 seconds to a minute to see if there's any questions. If not, we'll just move on. Someone's at chat disabled. Hopefully it's enabled for you guys right now. If there's any questions, please let me know. All right, guys, so I'm just to not just to go through this and not waste anybody's time, I'm going to continue going through this. If there's any questions, I'll go ahead and check at the end of this again, and I'll go ahead and answer them. So just give you guys a brief overview of who we are at CEOwned. Let me see if I can move this below. Yeah, there we go. So we're a business coaching organization that helps health and wellness coaches grow and scale their business online and offline. Obviously, you know my background, been doing this for over a decade. To date, we've helped over 1,000 coaches grow their business from 0 to 3,000 starting point to 8,000 to 10,000 months on average. So we've had amounts way above that, but that's around the average, okay? Now, how can you help me grow? Like, why do you care? So we help you with long and short-term strategies to building a really, really strong brand. And sometimes they're like, okay, what is a brand? How can I build a brand? Why do we even care about building a brand? Don't we just want clients, right? So building automated, and the second thing is building automated systems that consistently bring in ideal clients that are financially qualified. So what happens if you don't have these systems? One, you're going to consistently be doing outbound. Outbound just means constantly looking for clients, constantly sending messages, constantly being on the training floor, talking to people and trying to get clients. It's not something that you need to want to be doing for the rest of your life. At some point it's necessary, but that's not the goal. The goal is to build systems so that you don't have to constantly be doing that. Second one is never knowing where your next client is coming from, which can be a scary thing, can attach us to our jobs sometimes that maybe we don't like, we don't want to continue to do. And the third one is having really inconsistent financial months. 1 month you're feeling absolutely amazing, the next month you think you're going to be homeless. And I have absolutely been there, from like super high months to super low months. It's part of entrepreneurship at the beginning until you learn how to actually build systems that bring a level of consistency to your business. But instead of learning the hard way, you can actually learn the easy way through people who have actually done it, because it can be a big headache, right? And the third thing is building business around your life and not your life around your business. So what does this mean? Why does it matter? I'll give you a quick overview of this. Is when I first started, I told you guys that I hired a bunch of different coaches. When I did that, I just hired coaches based off of if they were better than me, as in they made more money than me. If they made more money than me, in my head at that time, in my young brain, that made them qualified as somebody who could help me. Now, although that was partly true, the problem with that was they didn't have the values, the lifestyle goals, how I wanted to live my life the way that they did. So they would say, do this system. As long as you do this system, you're gonna get results 100%. But then maybe that system didn't work for me, or it didn't feel authentic for me, or it just wasn't a strategy that for whatever reason wasn't my path. And so the biggest thing that if anything that you guys can take away from this is that there's a million different ways to skin a cat. We got to find out what way is yours in a way that feels really natural and good for you. Do you want to work 4 hours a day? Is it 10 hours a day? Do you like work? Do you want to be online? Do you want to be offline? Do you love the idea of doing a hybrid of both? Like what kind of clients do you want to have? Do you want to travel? Do you want to be at home with your kids? Like really narrowing down what that is for you, what that looks like, and then working backwards to achieve that goal. When I first started, I just dumped myself into a gym, randomly opened it, moved out of my parents' house at the same time, quit going to college, paid this coach, like it was just a lot all at once. And so I didn't even have the moments to think about this. So I had to take all of the learning lessons of going through the gym, paying the coaches, making the money, losing the money, and then restarting all over again until I learned this lesson. So that's one of the biggest things that, if anything, if you don't even do anything about it, at least just bring it to your awareness of that being an important component of building your business. Because the whole component, the whole reason to do this is to build freedom around what you're doing, okay? All right, and so there's 3 main metrics necessary to growing your business. The first one is growing your brand, automated systems, and life design, business building. The one thing I didn't touch much base on was brand building. So I'm just gonna really touch base on it now, just so hopefully makes more sense to you guys, right? And brand building is just, I mean, it's easy to conceptualize if you think about some of the biggest brands out there, whether it's a personal brand like The Rock or a big brand like Coca-Cola, right? And so the goal here is, how can I be recognized enough and build enough rapport and trust with people, consumers, customers, over the long haul, so that, again, I can have people that just come to me just because they already trust the brand. Now, I'm not gonna lie, that first one doesn't happen overnight. It's just not possible. Automated systems that attract clients happen faster, and the life design can happen faster based on setting those metrics and being intentional about doing it. So the goal here is long-term strategy so that you can set yourself up for the long haul, and also short-term strategy of bringing in revenue, because you're not going to basically make $0 while you build a brand. So the goal is to take a combination of both of those and be able to, one, build a brand over time and bring in clients in the meantime, and then what? LTV, lifetime value, keep them for a very long period of time or forever, right? That's what grows businesses. And so the last thing over here, and these are just like some clients, basic screenshots from conversations that we have on WhatsApp. That's where we have our clients. This is Karina over here. She literally went from 0 to making 15K in 6 weeks. And to just be technical, she was making a couple $100 a month because she was selling very, very low ticket programs. And then she was able to bring her ticket item higher, increase and tweak how she serviced clients in a way that was higher level, increase her prices, and again, therefore, be able to start consistently bringing clients. We have other clients that made 7K in weeks, 20,000, 23,000. We have another client who's not on here, which if anyone wants, I can send, who was able to bring in 6 figures in a matter of several months just by putting in an ad strategy. Again, guys, systems, it's the second pillar, right? Automated systems that attract clients to you while we build the brand. That's the biggest thing here. And these are just a few more of those, okay? And so this is just for coaches who are looking to grow and scale their business online or hybrid, right? So if you want one of either, whether you want to go online or you want an online component to the in-person component that you already have, this is going to be for you if you need the A to Z of learning how to get high ticket clients. So clients that aren't paying very low prices, they're paying higher end prices for a premium offer. Okay, so you're able to periodically get clients right now, but most of them can't afford you, and the ones that can are paying very little, like we've talked about a little bit, kind of like Karina, who was bringing in a couple $100 a month before. So you want to be able to make your first 6 to 10K as an online personal trainer, and you have the drive and ambition, but you're looking for the right marketing, branding, and positioning that will bring you in clients. The last thing I should add to this, which I never did, which is the offer. You want your offer to be good so that the clients that do come on, they stay with you, because otherwise you're constantly chasing. That's the last thing that we want to do, okay? I'm just going to give a quick analogy here because I think this helps before I go on to the last thing I'll hop off. It's just, I don't know how many boys and girls there are, but I'll just make it relatable to both. So it's the same thing. If you're a guy, you're the one going up to the girl, I guess, or whatever dynamics. Or if you're a girl, it's the guy coming up to you. So the guy comes up to you at the bar, and if the girl thinks he's attractive, that's the in, or vice versa, guys. I'm just giving an example. That he's attractive, then like that's your in. But like making that girl your girlfriend takes a lot more than just being attractive to that person or having charm. It takes being funny. It takes maybe whatever that person values, if it's ambition, if it's charisma, if it's all those things. There are other things that it takes for the difference between a one-night stand and actually deciding to spend years with that person or a lifetime with that person. Those are two completely different things. It's the same thing here, guys. Think about it. It's different. The idea of how to bring in a client is completely different than how to keep a client. So just think about that example. How to get a spouse, a partner, or get someone to sleep with is completely different than how to have someone as a lifetime partner. Those are two completely different things. That's the same thing when I keep telling you guys LTV, lifetime value, keep your customers, okay? So last thing is, this isn't for you. If you're already crushing 7 figures and beyond in your business, so if you're already making $1 million+ in your business, this is not for you. Or you just don't have the motivation to put in the work and consistency. Because what I can tell you is we can't help you if you don't want to do any of the work, right? At the end of the day, we can lead a horse to water, but we can't make them drink. It's the exact same thing that you probably say to your clients is, I can tell you exactly all of the strategies of how to get results. I can walk you through it. I can hold you accountable. I can support you. I can give you the systems. I can adjust when challenges come. But if you don't do the work, then obviously I can't hit a magic button. So just think about it that way. So it does take a level of drive and motivation to put in the work consistently and persistently, okay? So if you're looking to grow your personal training business online or offline, there's typically 2 paths for this. The first one is to go on your own, do trial and error, a bunch of stuff that I did. I did a combination of both. And then the second option is to just work with people who've already done it and who've done it for a lot of people on repeat over and over and over again. So the first question is, do you have an online app that you suggest or use for training clients that helps drive clients to you? So those are 2 different things. So one is an app that trains clients. So that's a tool to help train clients. The other one is driving clients to you. That's marketing. Okay, so just to differentiate between those 2, Kathy. So in terms of apps to use for training clients, either Trainerize, True Coach, or FitBud are the options that you have. We're currently partnered with FitBud, so we provide discount for clients, but any of those 3 are perfectly well to provide a good experience. In terms of the second part of that question, which is drive clients to you, no apps will do that. Otherwise, they would be very, very busy. So the whole goal here is to do all the other things that we talked about to bring demand to your business, like building actual systems, like building credibility, like getting client results over time and being able to display those, like being able to be a thought leader in your space through different avenues, through different content, to things like that, okay? If there's a follow-up question, let me know. All right. Which social media platforms work the best for trying to get clients? Okay, so I'm going to answer this question really simply, but one thing I want to ask you is, where is your ideal client? That's where you go. So if your ideal client, for example, is a corporate professional, it's probably going to be LinkedIn. If they're not, it's probably going to be Instagram or Facebook. If they're moms, there's a lot more moms on Facebook. Are there moms on Instagram? Sure. But you really need to find out who's the ideal client and where do they hang out. So if they hang out on Facebook, you go there. If they hang out, if there's someone in their 20s and 30s, probably on Instagram. If they're in their teens or 20s, probably on TikTok. So it's really, who's that ideal client, and then which platform does that ideal client hang out on the most? And those are just really easy stats to be able to find should you want to. So do you suggest using Google Ads to get clients? The answer to that is no. And the reason for that is click cost for this type of business is so crazy high that the return is not there with Google Ads. However, the return is absolutely there with Facebook ads and Instagram ads. With that said, I will add one big factor to but with that, and that's when we first start training clients, we do not at all ever teach ads. And the reason for that is if we teach you ads, you're gonna get a bunch of calls. If we get you on ads, if we start running your ads, you're gonna get a bunch of calls with potential clients. But if you have no idea how to navigate through what we just talked about, the authentic selling conversation, then you're going to have a big problem closing that deal. So that's the biggest thing here. So that's what you want to make sure that you do is like, first, make sure that you learn the skill of how to have that sales conversation before you transition to the other side. And that's it. I'm going to go ahead and finish off. All right. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.